What up, peeps? Tony Baker here, back with another movie review. This time I'm reviewing Spider-Man No Way Home. I feel like we've been hearing so much about this movie before it came out. Yo, this is happening, this is gonna happen, this, that, and the third. I've been avoiding trailers like crazy, and I'm glad I did, because between the first teaser trailer and the second trailer, they show you a lot. So I'm glad I avoided these trailers. Now, the first half of this video, first little piece, not even half, first little quarter, I'm gonna do a quick review, and then after that, I'm going into the spoiler field review. So, spoiler alert, but not yet. I'm gonna just give you the once over. So, Spider-Man No Way Home, Spider-Man's finally back in the pandemic era. You wanna know, man, is this movie gonna do good? You know what I'm saying? Shang-Chi made over $200 million domestically. Venom, even though Venom's not MCU, but Venom is a comic book movie, that made some good money, even though it was terrible. It made good money. Eternals, for a Marvel movie, it's at like 160 something domestically, which is pretty low for a Marvel movie, even in the pandemic era. Black Widow made like 180 something domestically. I think they kind of view that as kind of a disappointment, but that's because they double released it. Now we got Spider-Man, No Way Home, and they were giving some incentive to early ticket buyers too. This movie ended up being the second highest grossing movie for opening weekend of all time. Second highest. Nobody saw this coming. The only movie that beat its opening weekend was Avengers Endgame. And then I look back at how much Avengers Endgame made its opening weekend. It's over $350 million opening. That's crazy. So the top 3 opening weekend movies of all time all belong to Marvel. Anyway, Spider-Man's back. At the end of Spider-Man No Way Home, Mysterio blew his whole spot up. Peter Parker is now revealed. It's like, y'all check this out. Peter Parker is Spider-Man, y'all. Ugh. First of all, Mysterio is a whole hoe for that. He a hoe for that. That's petty. When you're about to die, you be like, hey, y'all. Peter Parker, Spider-Man, y'all. Ugh. You a petty hoe, Mysterio. So now he's dealing with the ramifications of his identity becoming public. So the storyline behind this is he goes to Doctor Strange, desperate measures. Yo, can you do a spell to make people forget that I'm, Spider-Man? You know what I'm saying? I want to clear my name. So good intentions. The spell ends up fumbling some things, and now different realities are merging into this reality, and so now we're dealing with the multiverse situation. So now other things are popping up in this Spider-Man universe that he didn't plan for, none of us planned for. And so now this storyline is essentially about him trying to correct the errors that they made on this bot spell created by Doctor Strange. So now they're trying to get that all under control. I know I'm doing this without revealing too much, even though the trailer's already showing you way too much. But he's got all these different kind of enemies coming at him from different multiverses. So now he's got to rectify that. How does this stack up against the other Spider-Man movies? I personally feel like this Spider-Man is the best Spider-Man film that's ever been made. I think this is the best one, hands down. Before that, here's my ranking of the Spider-Man movies, my personal ranking. Number 1, No Way Home. Number 2, Spider-Man 2. Number 3, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Okay. Number 4, I'm gonna go Spider-Man. I'm gonna go with the original Spider-Man, with the that started all of this. Still pretty good. Then I'm gonna go with Homecoming. Then I'm gonna go with Far From Home. Far From Home. Then I'm gonna go with The Amazing Spider-Man. Then I'm going to go with Spider-Man 3, and then The Amazing Spider-Man 2. The Amazing Spider-Man 2 was at the bottom because the first half of Spider-Man 3 was actually pretty good to me. When they kind of just focused on the Sandman and Harry Osborn doing the Green Goblin thing. It was kind of good until they brought in the symbiote and just fumbled all that shit all to hell. That's when it became. So Spider-Man 3 is at the bottom because it angers me more than The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Amazing Spider-Man 2, they were trying to do too much and they just fumbled the ball. So that's my ranking right there. But forget all that. Y'all want to know the smooth jazz review. of Spider-Man No Way Home? Well, here it is. Oh, yeah. I'm giving Spider-Man No Way Home 4.75 saxophones out of 5. Now, it could damn near be a 5, but I just got to see, when I watch it again, is it still as dope as it was the first time? But for right now, 4.75 out of 5. Because goddamn, man, this Spider-Man movie was Spider-Man done right. All right, let's get to the recap. Spoiler warning. So if you haven't seen Spider-Man No Way Home, cut the video off right here if you don't want to be spoiled. I'm about to recap the whole movie right here, right now. Now, Spider-Man, like I was saying, Mysterio was petty. And he was like, yo, man, hey, y'all. Hey, listen, Spider-Man, he did all the drones. He killed all those people, man. And he's Peter Parker. Mysterio is a hoe for this. So with that being said, so now the people blame him for the attacks. Now the people blame him for the death of Mysterio. Now everybody in the world knows that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. Now he's become the most famous person in the world, damn near. So it's just like, yo, how does he get out of this? Now Mary Jane is at risk. Now Aunt May is at risk. All his friends, all his family at risk. They know where he lives. They're outside of his apartment. Peter's like, yo, man, I'm sorry, Mary. I'm sorry, Ned. And now, everybody knowing everything about him, now that affects everybody he's ever loved. So now, his friends don't get into MIT because of their association with Peter Parker. So now that affected them going to MIT. That affected their college, their higher education. So Peter's feeling terrible. He's like, yo, how can I, in the desperate measures sign, he goes to see Dr. Strange. Dr. Strange, listen, can you make a spell to where people forget that I am Peter Parker? Like everybody, they don't need to know of Peter Parker and Spider-Man. I want this. And so Dr. Strange is like, I don't know. And Wong wants nothing to do with this. Wong is like, nah, man, don't be doing, he just gonna have to take it. First Dr. Strange is like, you just gonna have to eat that. But nah, man, come on, they can't get into college because of me. Just, you know what I'm saying? Just help your boy out, man. I done fumbled this, I done fumbled that. They can't get into MIT because of me. Stephen Strange. You know what I'm saying? Help your boy out. And so Wong is out. He goes through the circle, closes it back up. Dr. Strange is like, all right, let's do this real quick. So he's setting up the spell. He's doing his thing. He's setting up the spell. He's got the fingertips going. He's doing all of this. And Peter Parker keeps changing the narrative. He was like, whoa, I still want Aunt May to know who I am because, that took a lot of pressure off. And then, the Mary Jane and then Mary MJ, not Mary Jane, MJ and then Ned, because I like them knowing. So he kept interrupting Doctor Strange's spell. So because he kept adding to it. Peter was just adding to it. He didn't know what he was doing, so he kept adding to it. So the spell was just getting real sloppy. So Doctor Strange does his thing, but then he has to bring it back in because it's like, yo, you know how dangerous this spell is? And you keep interrupting, it's not going to go well. But he had already did a little something to get the spell started, but he didn't really complete it. And he encased it in this case to keep it contained to where that way it doesn't shatter the very fabric of the multiverse and the space-time continuum and the flux capacitor and, Marty McFly, Doc Brown, all of that shit. So he contains it and he's like, yo, so you mean to tell me you had me do this spell and you didn't even talk to the college to see if they could change their hearts? You just got the letter and then you came running to me. Dr. Strange was understandably pissed. Peter was like, I didn't know. He didn't even attempt to talk to the recruiters, whoever brings in students, to see if they would change their mind. So Peter goes on this wild chase to find a recruiter for MIT, and then he finds her. She's on her way to the airport. So desperately, he rolls up to her car in the traffic. All of a sudden, the freeway is rumbling. You know what I'm saying? Dr. Octopus shows up on the bridge. Dr. Octopus from the Sam Raimi, Tobey Maguire Spider-Man shows up. What's happening, Peter? What it is, bro? So they fighting on the freeway. It's like, yo, Alfred Molina is back as Dr. Octopus. To this date, up until this movie came out, Spider-Man 2 was my favorite Spider-Man because it had dope fight sequences. It was they were getting their rhythm. They didn't have to establish any type of origins scenario. They just got right into it. You felt sorry for the villain. The villain was compelling, and the fights were dope. And I just felt like they did so many things right in Spider-Man 2. And it was good to see Alfred Molina back. And so they're fighting. I'm just like, wow, this is crazy because, you know, the Tobey Maguire now, and now we're doing it with, oh, this is dope. And so dope action sequences on that bridge. The college recruiter, though, she kind of pissed me off because she looked a little too calm for her life to be at risk. Like, she was just in the car, like, hanging, literally hanging for her life in the vehicle, face down, train underneath. I'm just like, she's a little too calm for me. And then when they pull her back up to safety, first thing she says is, you know what? I'm gonna talk to your friend. You know what I'm saying? And you're rude. You're rude. No. I'm gonna be hysterical. I won't even be able to form sentences. Yes, you saved my life. I'm not gonna lose sight of that. But in this moment where you just pulled me from hanging over a freeway bridge to my death, I'm not gonna be able to form complete sentences just yet. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna be drooling. I'm gonna be hysterical, face wet. Anyway, that's just a little minor gripe. So cut to. They finally settled this. They have a great fight. Dr. Octopus's arms meshes with the nanotech of Spider-Man's suit. And so now he just upgraded Doc Ock. But at the same time, Spider-Man was able to control that nanotech mentally. So he was able to override Doc Ock. So now he was at the mercy of paralyzed Doc Ock arms. So that was fantastic how they did that. And then so once he got Doc Ock under control, Dr. Strange scoops Spider-Man out of that situation. But right before that, the Green Goblin shows up. But then, they come through with the circles, and then they back, and he's like, yo, all right, Peter, since you messed this all up, Dr. Strange had to run in with the lizard. So now I'm keeping them here. They're coming from these multiple realities, these multiple universes. So now anybody that you encounter from a different universe, we have to bring them here so I can transport everybody back to where they belong. And so now we got the lizard from The Amazing Spider-Man. We got Doc Ock from Spider-Man 2. Green Goblin already popped up and appeared. So now Doctor Strange gives him a little thing where he can immediately transport these beings from a different dimension into this little cage that they got for him. And then that way they can capture everybody and then send them back to where they belong. So they do this. He's like, yo, I need the help with MJ and Ned to help me with this, Doctor Strange. And he's like, all right, let's get it going. Let's get it cracking. So now y'all are cute. Y'all are like, what do you call them? The Ghostbusters or the Goonies? Scooby-Doo. And he's like, the Scooby-Doo game. So now they're on a mission. So now they go and try to they found another anomaly, but they wasn't sure who it was. Turned out it was Electro coming in. Electro shows up, attacks Spider-Man, and then the Sandman pops up. And he's like, yo, man, I don't know what's going on here. Maybe I can help you. I'm just trying to get my daughter. Sandman was always all about his daughter. So it was just like, whatever can get me to my daughter, I'm willing to do that, Spider-Man. So they fight Electro. Sandman is there. Sandman agrees to help Spider-Man take down Electro. Electro is all smooth now, by the way. Jamie Foxx is like smooth. He's like motherfucker from Horrible Bosses. What's his name in Baby Driver? He's like that character now. He's not all nerdy and tore teethy and like the wild hair like he was in Amazing Spider-Man 2. He's all smooth now because he got a different energy in this reality, man. So now he's just like super smooth now. So anyway, they capture them, throw them in the thing, and Doc Ock is cranky. He's pissed off. He's cranky. Electro is all smooth now. The lizard is just in there quiet, and the Sandman is in there. But he didn't know who to trust. He don't trust nobody. He just wants his daughter. So now they got those together, and now they know there's one more that they need to get. And so now the lizard said something. They're like, yo, you talked this whole time? We didn't even know. The dinosaur talked. I'm a lizard, you know what I'm saying? So we got that whole dynamic going. So now, turns out the Green Goblin, he's always had that dual personality thing. He's always, yeah, you're gonna do this. He's like, I don't want to do it. You're gonna do it. And he's having that whole dynamic with the Green Goblin character. And he's like, but please, this isn't who I am. I'm like, yeah, it is. So he shows up to where Aunt May works. as the real Norman Osborn. It's just like, I'm just trying to figure it all out. Aunt May calls Spider-Man. Spider-Man rushes down there. It's Norman Osborn. He's in his regular mode, so he takes him to the Scooby-Doo gang hangout in Doctor Strange's basement cellar piece. So now they all up in there. It's like, yo, this is the Green Goblin. He's the other guy from the other dimension. So now we got everybody in there. Doctor Strange is like, yo, we need to send them back. But Spider-Man knows that they each end up dying in their respective realities. So Peter Parker's like, yo, I don't know if I'm comfortable with sending them back to their deaths. Doctor Strange is like, that's not our problem. We gotta send them back. And he's like, maybe I can fix them. Like, nah, man, I'm taking them back. So Spider-Man intervenes, and so he has to fight Doctor Strange to get that spell, keep the spell from Doctor Strange, so he wanted to send them back. So they do this whole dynamic. And when I tell you, when you fight Doctor Strange, you are going to get some amazing visuals. That's one thing about Doctor Strange. Mind you, in the comic books, Doctor Strange was always so-so for me in the comics. It was like he was a cool character, but I was never excited about. I didn't read the Defenders like that. Whenever he showed up, I was like, it's cool. But ever since he debuted in the movies, his stuff has been super dope to me. Like the Doctor Strange movie itself had some of the best visuals I had ever seen from an MCU movie. And then even when he fought Thanos in Infinity War, it was just like, yo, how he was battling Thanos just looked dope visually. And we got a taste of those visuals again, kind of when Spider-Man was fighting Mysterio and all this weird shit was happening visually. I was just like, yo, this is dope. So Doctor Strange just brings a whole new element of visual spectacularness when you're watching it on film. So when he's fighting Doctor Strange to try to get the spell back, it was just dope. And he ends up thwarting Doctor Strange because he was good at math. His math led him into, trapping Doctor Strange, getting the best of him. And you forget that Peter Parker's a genius. You forget that until in that moment where he knew the math and he was like, all right. So he ends up thwarting Doctor Strange. He gets the spell box. So now his mission is to fix these guys from these different realities and get them back going again. And so I'm going to fix these guys. I'm going to cure them better than send them to their death. So they do all this. They got all this going. And so they agree to work with Spider-Man. And because they know this is not the same Peter Parker that they were, around. And so it was cool seeing them interact with one another and see, yeah, I knew you. I remember you. You're Norman Osborn. It was like, Otto Octavius, what are you doing here? It was like a, old reunited party mixer network type of vibe for supervillains. Sinister Six, even though it was only 5 of them. So they agree to do that. So they take all these villains to Happy's apartment because Peter and Aunt May was staying with Happy. So now they going up in there. And it's quite the crew, man. When you look, and there's a shot where you see the people coming into Happy's apartment. And I'm sure Happy's like, why is there a dude made of clay walking in? Somebody with arms, somebody that messed up the electronics on my... So it was just like a lot going on in his apartment. So they all in there and they all talking. And not everybody is on board. So the first mission is we're gonna change the chip in Dr. Octopus's, the arms to quell the voices of the tentacles in his brain. That's the big reason why Doc Ock is so mean and so volatile, is that, he's hearing all these voices and the voices are coming from the tentacles that he wears. And so they're trying to nullify that so we can get back to the true Otto Octavius. And so he was cranky, man. He was big cranks. He was Cranks McGee, but it was dope. And so they finally do this. They let it happen, and it worked. Otto Octavius is back. He's like, hey, oh man, what's going on? I was like, man, I forgot how nice he was. 'Cause he was a great guy before his wife ended up getting killed and the tentacles took over his brain in Spider-Man 2. So it was like, wow. So now the next mission, we got the Green Goblin working on his situation. We got the Electro thing going over here. So we're getting all this together so he can cure them so they don't have to die when they go back. But some of them stay shady. Electro was on the fence. He was like, I kind of like this new me. I kind of like this new energy. I like who I am now. I don't know if I want to go back. You know what I'm saying? But he was still kind of going with the flow. But at the same time, he was like, I don't know. And then the Green Goblin, we thought he was just harmless Norman Osborn. We was all in. But nah, man, he was treacherous. He was plotting. And Peter's spider senses, he knew something was wrong, but he was trying to figure out who in the room was up to no good. And he figured out it was Norman Osborn. Norman Osborn was out to get everybody, and he was going to kill Peter. And so that allowed Electro to rip off his thing. And so now we have a splinter going on between the supervillains and Spider-Man. So Green Goblin wants Spider-Man dead. So they had this huge epic fight at Happy's apartment. It's going down. Meet me in the trap. Electro is loose. Lizard, who opted to stay in the truck downstairs the whole time, he's let loose. So all hell breaks loose. It's chaos. And in the ensuing battle, Aunt May kind of saves the day, but she puts herself at risk. The glider comes busting in, knocks her clean unconscious for a second, and then the bomb goes off, knocks Peter out, and so the Green Goblin escapes. Aunt May gets up. Turns out she's mortally wounded. She looks at Peter and tells Peter, like, I don't know what's going on. She's holding it together, but she said, with great power comes great responsibility. When she said that, I was like, yo, Aunt May's gonna die. And when she got up, I thought when she was laying there, I thought she was gonna die like that. But when she got up and started talking, helping Peter up, I was like, oh, okay, Aunt May is good. But when she said that, I was like, why is she breathing like this? Is she good? Is she good? Aunt May, are you good? But she wasn't good. She wasn't, man. She died. Aunt May died, man. I was not ready for the... Uncle Ben, even though we never got the origin story of the Tom Holland Spider-Man, we just assumed Uncle Ben was dead. We assumed Peter had no parents. Uncle Ben was dead. We never saw it. And the other Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire, we saw Uncle Ben die. So we saw it. We felt it. We captured the emotion. Second one, Amazing Spider-Man, we saw Uncle Ben die again. How many times we got to go through losing these family members? And then, we saw Spider-Man lose Gwen Stacy. It was just like, but now Tom Holland has truly lost someone. Yeah, granted, he lost Tony Stark, but he had just met Tony Stark. Let's be real. Let's keep it a buck. Let's keep it a stack. You know what I'm saying? He can't be as attached to Tony Stark as he is to Aunt May. You know what I mean? Like, Tony Stark get hurt, but you just met this cat. He gave you some cool gadgets, but you ain't known him that long. And you were gone for 5 years before you came back. So even that 5 years, you missed it. You wasn't that attached to Tony. But Aunt May, Aunt May, man. I'm folding up in the movie theater. My eyeballs are I'm wet at this. Because, me, I just lost a real family member. I lost my son in real life. So I can't handle people losing people in film. I'm already Cries McGee. I was folded up in that movie theater. So now I'm just like, oh, man, Aunt May. I wasn't expecting that. So we lose Aunt May. Oh, I done missed a whole piece. So at the apartment, when they're trying to get everything together at Happy's apartment, Ned has the Doctor Strange the portal ring. So he's able to open a portal. So now they're like, yo, we need to find Spider-Man. We need to find Peter Parker. So it opens the ring to Peter Parker. Peter Parker comes running in through the ring. Turns out it's the Andrew Garfield Peter Parker. He runs in there. He's in the kitchen with MJ and Ned. They don't believe he is who he says he is. Prove it. So they had this great back and forth on Peter Parker trying to prove to them that I am Spider-Man. I'm hanging on the wall. He's like, well, that's not enough. And then he crawls on the wall. And then Ned's grandmother comes out. Hey, can you get that cobweb in the corner? Great scene. It was great to see Andrew Garfield again. So they tried again. Like, help us find Peter. Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker comes through the portal. So now, he didn't have his uniform on, so now he just comes in. So now we got Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield in the same movie with Tom Holland. This is just great. Whole back and forth. They find that, he's doing the web sling. They making sure, oh, you a Spider-Man too? You a Spider-Man too? This is crazy. You know what I'm saying? So now, Spider-Man, Tom Holland, he loses Aunt May. She's dead. So they find Peter Parker, MJ and Ned pull up, and he's just seriously mourning. And I love it when characters sit in the sadness. And I was just like, yeah, man, you know what I'm saying? And they bring the two other Peters along with them. And so, Peter doesn't even want to hear from them. He's just like, man, y'all don't know what it's like to lose somebody like this. He's like, you know who you talking to? How dare you? We done lost. Please. I saw Uncle Ben died in my arms, And then it's my fault because I let that killer go, and then he ended up killing my uncle. What are you talking about here? And then, the Andrew Garfield Peter Parker's like, hey, man, what you talking about? I lost my uncle, and when I tried to save my girl, who was my version of MJ, when I tried to save her, her neck snapped. She hits her head on the thing. What you talking about, bro? You ain't the only one that lost somebody out here. Remove the chip from your shoulder. And him talking to those other Spider-Man gives him the courage to stick with his original plan and trying to help them and then send them back. So they doing all this. They gonna work together as a team, come together, and they got the plan. They working in the lab. They got a plan for each of them to cure them before they, had to send them back. So they all working together. It's dope seeing these Peters bounce off one another and interact with one another. The jokes are flying, and you just like, man, this is so dope to see. And it's three Peters, and they're like, Peter. And they're like, huh, which one? We're all named Peter. Well, Peter Parker. That's all of us. So it was just like, wow, this is great. This is great to see from 2001 or 2, whenever this first Spider-Man came out, 2002 to now, to see all this come together like this. Genius. It's just beautiful to see. So he worked the plan out. They got the gadgets for everybody. They don't cure everybody. So they had this big fight at the Statue of Liberty. I don't know why we got to put the climax of the movie in this big construction area or it's always, especially with Spider-Man movies. Yeah, just so they can break and destroy shit without the ramifications. Spider-Man is the only one that really worries about this. Always an isolated area that's under construction. The Avengers didn't worry about this. The Avengers tore up whole countries. They fought in the African city, planets, Thanos through the moon and Iron Man. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on. We putting lives at risk. But anyway, Spider-Man's not like that. So we had the Statue of Liberty. They having this big fight. They working together. They curing people. They cure the Sandman. They get Electro. You know what I'm saying? They injecting everybody. You know what I'm saying? It's going down. Meet me in the trap. They got the Lizard cured. And so now they're dealing with the Green Goblin. They're dealing with the Green Goblin. They're trying to get him under control because the Green Goblin is a wild boy. Shout out to Willem Dafoe's performance. He was fantastic in this. Willem Dafoe killed it in this role. So they all working together in the third quarter, the fourth quarter, you want to call it. Doc Ock shows up and helps them out, helps them rule the day, helps them save the day. And they end up, getting everybody cured pretty much. And just when you think Peter Parker, Tom Holland's Peter Parker, is going to kill the Green Goblin with his bare hands. With the glider. He grabbed the glider. Because the way he was punching the Green Goblin out, I was like, yo, he going to beat him to death. But the Green Goblin was surprisingly taking those punches. Because I feel like he wasn't holding back. And Spider-Man's strong. So I'm like, the Green Goblin's strong too. So he grabs the glider, is going to kill him with the glider. Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker comes in, holds him. Come on, man. Didn't even say anything. He was just looking at him like, you don't want to do this. You don't need to do this. He puts the glider down. Green Goblin stabs Tobey Maguire in the back. I'm like, oh, god damn, man, what's going on? And then Andrew Garfield's Peter Parker throws him with the injection that he needs to cure Green Goblin, throws it to him. Tom Holland sticks it in his neck. He stuck it in his neck hard, though. He stuck it in there hard. He didn't kill him, but he was like, this. And so now Norman Osborn is regular again. So now Doctor Strange, he shows up in the middle of that fight and was like, yo, this cure plan really is working. Okay. All right, cool. So now he's ready to get the spell back in order. But what I forgot to mention is, in that fight, Green Goblin put a bomb within the spell box. That blew up and set the spell ablaze. So now it's going out there. So now Doctor Strange is trying to contain it back down to where all of these beings from different dimensions don't start coming for Peter Parker. So he's trying to keep that under control. So he has to tell Doctor Strange, like, yo, man, just make everybody forget who Peter Parker really is. Make everybody forget about Peter Parker. It's like I never existed. He's like, you sure you want this kid? He's like, hey, I'm going to have to do it. So Doctor Strange does it. So now Peter Parker has to say goodbye to MJ and Ned because they're going to forget who he is. So he has to say goodbyes to them. It was a very touching moment. He had to say goodbye to them. And Doctor Strange does the spell. And so now Peter Parker has to essentially start from scratch. His Aunt May died. Now his best friends don't even know who he is. So now, he had a letter prepared so he can remind MJ of who he was and what they once had. And so he shows up at the donut shop that MJ works at, and he goes in there, and she looks all excited when he opens the door. And like, oh, you know who I am? But Ned was behind him. So, Ned showed up, and so he goes in there ready to reveal the letter, but he was talking to them, finds out they got accepted to MIT, and they're excited. They're like, yo. And so now he's getting to thinking like, you know what? Sees the cut from the fight. So the cut is there. So it's just like, I think in that moment, Peter realized that he might be better off without me here. You know what I mean? Seeing the extra baggage that Peter Parker's life can bring to his loved ones, I think in that moment he just realized that, you know what? I'm going to just let y'all do y'all thing. Have a great life. I'll just be out here. And he looked sad, but also content in that moment. Just like, you know what? Because me personally, I think that's the route I would take. I would take myself out of it, because I know him talking to the other Peter Parkers, they all lost somebody close to them. They all did. And it was just like, that's the constant trend. And I just lost Aunt May. It was just like, yeah. So he scrapped that idea. He met Happy at the gravesite of Aunt May. He was just talking. Happy didn't know who he was, of course, but, and then, Peter gets this little humble apartment. Nobody knows him. So now he's just going to fight crime in a non-souped up Spider-Man suit. He had to go back to the sewing machine, make him a suit, and his suit looked dope, by the way. The blue was really popping on that one. And he's going to be your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. And so that's how the movie ends. Great closing sequence. Shout out to Marvel for having super dope closing sequences now, because they know people are sticking around in that theater. You might as well jazz it up. And they were playing De La Soul, so I was like, yes. And then cut to the post-credit scene. We got Tom Hardy's Venom in there, and he's just talking, trying to get the scoop of what's going on in this new reality he's in. And so something happens to where he ends up disappearing, and goes back to his reality, right? He goes back to his reality, but he leaves behind some of the symbiote. So now we got the symbiote in this MCU reality. And then the other post-credit scene is basically teaser trailer for Doctor Strange. What's it called? Multiverse of Madness. They gave us a teaser trailer for that. I didn't want to see any trailers, so this was forced on me, but all right. Now, but I still think I've seen too much. Anyway, so if you don't really like trailers and you sat through this spoil-filled review, but you don't like trailers, just stick around for the first post-credit scene and then dip out, because all the second one is a teaser trailer, so watch out for that. Anyway, that's my recap of Spider-Man No Way Home. Go see it. It's fantastic. Oh, how could I forget? They integrated Daredevil into this. When they were looking at it, attorneys to help them through this fiasco of Peter Parker being public, their attorney was Matt Murdock, who is Daredevil. He shows up. I was just like, yo. So now Daredevil has been introduced into the MCU officially. I'm excited about this. And they showed a little something where somebody threw a brick through their window and he was able to catch it. Spider-Man was like, yo, what are you saying? I'm a lawyer. So I was like, oh, can't believe I forgot that. Good looking out, Cam. I'm sure there's more Easter eggs in there that I forget to mention that I forgot and that I didn't even know existed. So I really want to see the images of the people that were trying to come through the dimension crack, see if I can recognize any of the shapes. Anyway, let me know what you thought of Spider-Man No Way Home. How do you rank all the Spider-Man movies? Let me know your ranking and how you like this one. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And as usual, we out here.